At precisely 7:10 a.m., 3 HOA board members, all wearing the same matching fleece vest and clutching their clipboards like tactical gear, marched straight toward the front of my secluded log cabin, tucked deep inside the smoky foothills. Without saying a word, they slapped a laminated citation onto my pine door like they were marking their territory in a war zone, then proudly snapped a group selfie, posing as if they'd just taken down a high-value target. There was only one problem. My cabin wasn't under their HOA. It wasn't even in their county. My name is Dustin Harrow, 44 years old, a quiet software engineer who escaped the noise and chaos of Alia Estates in suburban Tennessee to live off-grid 2 full hours away.
No Wi-Fi.
No HOA rules. Just a wood-burning stove, a peaceful trout creek, and the kind of silence I thought I'd never have again. I genuinely believed I'd left HOA politics behind forever when I bought my little slice of mountain freedom. I was wrong, dead wrong. Back in Alia Estates, the HOA was ruled by Tamara Cly, a pearl-wearing tyrant with a platinum blowout and a one-woman crusade against homeowners who didn't worship her authority. My mistake? Dropping out of the HOA Zoom meetings after suffering through a 4-hour meltdown over mailbox glossiness. That simple act apparently marked me as a rebel, and Tamara does not tolerate rebellion. The harassment started quietly. The first letter came on a Tuesday, certified mail. Tamara accused me of illegally disconnecting from community oversight and claimed my off-grid cabin violated aesthetic unity protocols. I politely explained the obvious, that the cabin had nothing to do with Alia Estates. She fired back with fines. $500 per week for non-compliance with visual expectations. I actually laughed out loud. Who fines someone for a property outside their jurisdiction? Then things escalated into straight-up insanity. My neighbor, Jerry Blandon, called me, sounding half amused, half horrified. He had spotted Tamara's husband, Roger, hovering a drone over my property line from the public road, spying on my cabin. Days later, another neighbor, Sarah Hutchinson, caught Tamara herself in the mountains, photographing my compost bin and muttering about feral landscaping. This woman actually drove 2 hours into the foothills just to stalk my vegetable garden. Then the hammer dropped. I received a thick legal packet from the HOA's law firm. A lien notice against my real townhome in Alia Estates claiming I owed $30,000 in unpaid HOA fees tied to off-site structures. My hands were shaking. They were trying to seize my actual home over a cabin they didn't control. That's when I called Clive Hennings, a retired JAG officer with zero patience for HOA nonsense. When I showed him the jurisdiction map the HOA sent, he nearly fell out of his chair laughing. Someone had literally taken a black Sharpie and scribbled the HOA boundary outward to cover my cabin. It looked like a child had tried to redraw the state lines. Clive immediately filed a countersuit for harassment, fraudulent lien placement, and trespassing. Cease and desist letters went out to every board member. But Tamara didn't retreat, she doubled down. Soon I was getting daily violations. Unauthorized wildlife feeding, my bird feeders. Improper waste management, my legal septic system. Suspicious, non-standard structural materials. My log cabin, which is made of logs. Then came the twist that blew this story wide open. Channel 7 News picked up the story after Clive tipped them off. Their segment, HOA Leader Claims Control Over Unaffiliated Land, aired during prime time. Tamara, thrilled to be on camera, showed up with perfect pearls, hair lacquered into a helmet, and then she pulled out hand puppets. Yes, hand puppets. Using a princess puppet for the HOA and a troll puppet for non-compliant homeowners, she explained her theory of extended governance. The news anchor's frozen smile told the whole story. Within days, I secured a restraining order. And the actual sheriff with authority over my land, Sheriff Tom Garrett, released a statement that made me choke on my coffee. This land has no HOA and never will. Also, please stop stapling laminated notices to trees. That is littering. He had personally caught Tamara and her lackeys on one of their ridiculous reconnaissance runs. Panic erupted inside the HOA. An emergency meeting was called, led by a sweating vice president, Harold Simmons. Sarah later forwarded me the minutes. Tamara had burned over $8,000 of HOA funds on A private investigator, a week-long lakeside bed and breakfast, scouting retreat, night vision goggles. A GPS tracker gas for mountain stakeouts. The residents were furious. They demanded receipts, explanations, and Tamara's immediate removal. Tamara clutched the podium, ranting about defending the community's values. Then Harold dropped the bomb. She had created a secret Facebook group called Alia Enforcement Squad, recruiting 43 volunteers to take turns driving up the mountain to photograph my land. She even had a point system. 10 violation points earned a Starbucks gift card, paid with HOA money. But the most damning evidence? Tamara had accidentally live-streamed one of her nighttime raids on my property. At 2 a.m., she crept onto my land like a covert agent, armed with nothing but a measuring tape, a clipboard, and a level of obsession no sane person could explain. Her voice was a breathy whisper as she instructed Roger to measure the spacing between my garden gnomes, so she could file it under something she called expanded jurisdiction violations. Yes, she even came prepared with pre-printed citation forms. She wasn't improvising. She was on a mission. The prosecution brought in witness after witness. First was Margaret Pallam, one of the elderly residents of Alia Estates. She testified that Tamara once knocked on her door holding a tablet with a full PowerPoint presentation, complete with animated slides and soft elevator music, trying to convince her to sign a petition that would allow the HOA to control any property owned by an Alia resident, anywhere in the world. A global HOA. She pitched it like a corporate merger. Then came David Krause, a local landscaping contractor. And what he revealed shocked the entire courtroom. Tamara had tried to hire his company to secretly transplant non-compliant plants onto my cabin property so she could find me later. When he refused, she offered cash under the table and called it a community beautification grant. He still had the text messages proof. She offered $2,000 for him to sneak purple petunias into my vegetable garden in the middle of the night. When Tamara finally took the stand, she walked in wearing a navy blue power suit and her signature pearl necklace, trying to look like the patron saint of community standards. But the moment questioning began, her entire facade collapsed. She went on long, spiraling rants about protecting property values and preserving aesthetic integrity. When the prosecutor asked how a cabin 2 hours away could possibly affect home values in Alia Estates, Tamara launched into a bizarre monologue about aesthetic contamination and the broken windows theory. The judge actually rubbed his temples. Cross-examination made everything worse. Tamara admitted she'd never visited anyone else's vacation property. When asked why she targeted me specifically, she coldly answered, "Because he skipped the HOA potluck 3 years in a row, and he never participates in the bake sale." She claimed repeated absence from potlucks was a sign of something she invented. On the spot, community detachment disorder. And then the bombshell dropped. The prosecutor revealed that Tamara had spent $12,000 of her own money hiring private investigators after 2 firms refused to take her case because my property was outside HOA jurisdiction. The third PI simply pocketed the cash and sent her Google Earth screenshots. The evidence kept spiraling. Along with the fraudulent lien and financial documents, investigators found emails where Tamara discussed hiring actors to pose as code enforcement officers complete with fake violation notices and made-up ordinance numbers. She even filed false reports with the county health department, attempting to get my cabin condemned. But nothing, and I mean nothing, was stranger than what came next. They produced a thick, color-coded binder she titled Project Rustic Compliance. Inside were hand-drawn maps and detailed annexation plans for not just my cabin property, but 17 other vacation homes owned by Alia residents. On page 47, she'd drawn a crayon map labeled the Greater Alia Empire, complete with tiny flags marking properties across 3 states. Then a forensic accountant testified. Tamara had secretly created a shadow budget inside the HOA accounts, funneling money into categories like miscellaneous beautification and emergency aesthetic response. Over 18 months, she diverted nearly $40,000 toward her personal surveillance campaign. She even bought a used van, painted it to look like an HOA patrol vehicle, slapped on magnetic logos and an amber light bar, trying to appear official. The verdict? Swift. Tamara was found guilty on all counts. Fraud, embezzlement, harassment, abuse of fiduciary authority. Senior District Judge William Hartley didn't sugarcoat a thing. He said that in 30 years on the bench, he had never seen such a delusional, vindictive abuse of HOA power. He called her behavior borderline psychotic and an embarrassment to community governance. Her punishment was brutal. Banned from all HOA roles, statewide $50,000 restitution to the HOA, $30,000 to me for legal fees and emotional distress, 3-year federal sentence, 1 year in custody, 2 years probation, 300 hours of community service helping people navigate HOA disputes, full psychiatric evaluation, and monthly therapy. Real estate license suspended for 5 years, prohibited from living in any HOA community for 10 years. The courtroom went silent as the sentence was read. Tamara's face flushed from red to white to a furious, blotchy purple. She leapt to her feet, knocking her chair over. "This is a conspiracy against dedicated community leaders," she shouted. "You fools don't understand the importance of aesthetic continuity." As officers moved in, she grabbed her oversized purse and hurled her HOA president's gavel at the prosecutor, missing widely. 2 bailiffs restrained her as she shrieked about mailbox heights and crumbling community standards. Her final words, as the courtroom doors closed behind her, still echo in the chamber. "If you made it this far, you're officially part of the Neighbor Wars HQ family." If stories like this keep you on the edge of your seat, make sure to like this video, drop a comment, and share it with someone who's dealt with an HOA nightmare. And don't forget to subscribe to Neighbor Wars HQ, where real stories, real chaos, and real neighbor showdowns unfold every week. See you in the next battle.